Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Brody trudged along, his worn sneakers scuffing with each weary step. 2 years of fruitless job searching had taken their toll, leaving his shoulders slumped and his wallet empty. The classified ads clutched in his hand felt like lead weights, each help wanted listing a reminder of countless rejections. Brody's stomach growled as he passed a bustling cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee and pastries taunting him. He patted his pocket, knowing the meager change inside wouldn't cover even a small cup. With a sigh, he turned down a side street, seeking shade from the relentless heat. As he rounded the corner, a colorful flyer caught his eye. "Exciting international opportunity," it proclaimed in bold letters. Brody approached, curiosity piqued despite his usual skepticism of such ads. His eyes widened as he read the details. A position in Uzbekistan offering substantial pay and comprehensive benefits. It seemed too good to be true. Then he noticed the fine print at the bottom. Note: all employees must adhere to company policy of using feminine names and titles. Brody furrowed his brow, rereading the line to ensure he hadn't misunderstood. It was an odd requirement, to be sure, but given his dire financial straits, he was willing to consider just about anything. With trembling fingers, Brody dialed the number listed. A cheerful voice answered, confirming the details of the position. When Brody hesitantly inquired about the naming policy, the recruiter explained it was part of the company's unique corporate culture, designed to foster equality and creativity. I think I'm interested," Brody said, his voice a mix of desperation and uncertainty. "Wonderful!" the recruiter exclaimed. "We'll send over the paperwork right away. Welcome aboard, Miss... Elsie," Brody blurted out, the first feminine name that came to mind. "Miss Elsie." The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of preparations. Brody sold what few possessions he had left, arranged for his small apartment to be sublet, and nervously pored over guidebooks about Uzbekistan. As his departure date approached, a mix of excitement and apprehension churned in his stomach. Finally, the day arrived. Brody boarded the plane, his entire life packed into a single suitcase. As the aircraft lifted off, he gazed out the window at the shrinking cityscape below. Whatever lay ahead in Uzbekistan, it had to be better than the struggle he was leaving behind. After a long and tiring journey, Brody's plane touched down in Tashkent, Uzbekistan's capital. The airport buzzed with activity, a cacophony of unfamiliar languages filling the air. Clutching his travel documents, Brody made his way through customs, heart pounding with each step. A smiling woman holding a sign that read Miss Elsie greeted him in the arrivals area. "Welcome to Uzbekistan," she said warmly. "I'm Miss Dahlia, your orientation guide." Brody hesitated for a moment before remembering his new identity. "Thank you, Miss Dahlia," he replied, the words feeling strange on his tongue. "I'm Miss Elsie." Miss Dahlia ushered him to a waiting car, chatting animatedly about the company and life in Tashkent. Brody tried to focus, but his mind whirled with the surreal nature of the situation. As they drove through the city, the blend of modern architecture and ancient Islamic buildings captivated him, momentarily distracting from his apprehension. They arrived at a sleek office building in the heart of the business district. Miss Dahlia led Brody inside, introducing him to a flurry of colleagues, all addressed with feminine titles. The faces began to blur together as jet lag and nervousness took their toll. Finally, they reached a corner office where a distinguished-looking woman sat behind an imposing desk. "Miss Elsie," Miss Dahlia announced, "meet our CEO, Miss Victoria." Miss Victoria stood, extending a perfectly manicured hand. "Welcome aboard, Miss Elsie. We're thrilled to have you join our team." Brody shook her hand, mustering a smile. "Thank you for this opportunity, Miss Victoria. I'm eager to get started." "Excellent enthusiasm," Miss Victoria nodded approvingly. "Now, as I'm sure you're aware, our company has some unique policies. Miss Dahlia will guide you through the transformation process to ensure you align with our corporate image. Brody's smile faltered. Transformation process? Miss Victoria's eyes sparkled with amusement. Nothing too drastic, I assure you. Just a few adjustments to help you fully embrace your role as Miss Elsie. Miss Dahlia will explain everything. With that, Brody was whisked away to another floor of the building. Miss Dahlia led him into a room that looked like a cross between a spa and a boutique. This is where the magic happens, she said with a wink. Over the next few hours, Brody underwent a series of treatments. His ears were pierced, eyebrows shaped, and facial hair removed. A stylist worked on his hair, transforming it into a feminine bob. As he sat in the salon chair, watching his reflection change, a mix of emotions washed over him. Fear, excitement, and a strange sense of liberation. Now, for the finishing touches, Miss Dahlia declared, presenting Brody with a selection of women's clothing and accessories. Choose whatever makes you feel most comfortable. Brody's hands trembled as he sorted through the unfamiliar garments. He settled on a modest blouse and skirt combination, figuring it was best to err on the conservative side. As he changed, adjusting to the feel of stockings and heels, he caught sight of himself in the full-length mirror. The person staring back was almost unrecognizable. Gone was the scruffy, defeated man who had boarded the plane in the States. In his place stood a presentable, feminine figure. Brody, now truly Elsie, felt a strange mix of discomfort and happiness. You look wonderful, Miss Elsie. Miss Dahlia beamed. Ready to start your new life? Elsie took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. As ready as I'll ever be, she replied, her voice softer than before. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of training and adjustment. Elsie threw herself into learning her new role, determined to make the most of this opportunity. She quickly discovered that the company's unusual policies extended beyond just names and appearances. Every aspect of the workplace was designed to foster a unique, feminine-centric environment. At first, Elsie struggled with the constant use of miss and feminine pronouns. She'd catch herself about to use her old name or masculine terms, quickly correcting course. But as days turned into weeks, it became more natural. She found herself responding automatically to Miss Elsie, her new identity settling over her like a second skin. The work itself was challenging but rewarding. Elsie's background in data analysis proved invaluable, and she soon found herself taking on more responsibilities. Her colleagues were supportive, always ready with a kind word or helpful tip as she navigated both her job and her new persona. One morning, about a month into her new life, Elsie was preparing for work in her small but comfortable company-provided apartment. As she applied her makeup, a skill she was still perfecting, she caught herself humming contentedly. The realization struck her suddenly. She was happy. Happier than she'd been in years, certainly. The financial stability was a huge relief, of course, but there was something more. In embracing this new identity, Elsie felt as if she'd shed the weight of her past struggles. Here, she was valued for her skills and contributions, not judged for her employment history or appearance. As Elsie made her way to the office, the streets of Tashkent now familiar and welcoming, she reflected on how much had changed in such a short time. The initial strangeness of her situation had given way to a sense of belonging and purpose. At work, Elsie dove into her projects with renewed vigor. Her innovative approaches caught the attention of upper management, and soon she found herself being invited to high-level meetings. Miss Victoria herself commended Elsie's work, hinting at potential advancement opportunities. You've exceeded our expectations, Miss Elsie, Miss Victoria said during one such meeting. Your fresh perspective is exactly what we needed. Elsie beamed with pride. Thank you, Miss Victoria. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to contribute. As months passed, Elsie's confidence grew both professionally and personally. She formed close friendships with her colleagues, enjoying girls' nights out and weekend excursions to explore Uzbekistan's rich cultural heritage. The initial awkwardness of navigating life as a woman faded, replaced by a sense of authenticity she'd never experienced before. One evening, as Elsie was working late on a crucial project, Miss Victoria stopped by her desk. "Miss Elsie, do you have a moment?" Elsie looked up from her computer, smoothing her skirt as she stood. "Of course, Miss Victoria. What can I do for you?" Miss Victoria smiled warmly. "I wanted to personally inform you that the board has approved your promotion to senior analyst. Your work has been exemplary, and we believe you're ready for more responsibility." Elsie's heart soared. "Thank you so much, Miss Victoria. I'm honored and excited to take on this new role." "You've earned it," Miss Victoria replied. "Now there is one other matter I'd like to discuss. As you know, we have an important inspection coming up next month. Given your stellar performance and understanding of our company culture, I'd like you to take a leading role in the preparations." Elsie nodded eagerly. "I'd be happy to help in any way I can." "Excellent. I'll have Miss Dahlia brief you on the details tomorrow. For now, go home and celebrate your promotion." "You deserve it." As Elsie left the office that night, her heels clicking confidently on the polished floors, she felt a surge of pride and belonging. The life she'd left behind in the States seemed like a distant memory. Here, as Miss Elsie, she had found success, friendship, and a sense of self she never knew was possible. The weeks leading up to the inspection were intense. Elsie worked tirelessly, coordinating with various departments to ensure everything was in perfect order. She led training sessions, fine-tuning presentations, and double-checking every detail. The night before the inspection, Elsie lay awake in bed, her mind racing. So much was riding on tomorrow's outcome, not just for her, but for the entire company. As she finally drifted off to sleep, she dreamed of the life she'd left behind, the struggles, the rejection, the hopelessness. In her dream, she saw her old self transform, blossoming into the confident woman she'd become. Elsie awoke the next morning feeling refreshed and determined. She took extra care with her appearance, selecting a smart, professional outfit that exuded confidence. As she applied her makeup, she smiled at her reflection, hardly recognizing the assured woman staring back at her. At the office, a nervous energy permeated the air. Elsie moved from desk to desk, offering words of encouragement and last-minute reminders to her colleagues. Miss Victoria caught her eye across the room, giving her an approving nod. The inspection team arrived precisely on schedule. Elsie greeted them warmly, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. As she led them through the office, introducing key personnel and highlighting the company's achievements, she felt a sense of pride in how far they'd all come. The day passed in a blur of presentations, interviews, and tours. Elsie answered questions with poise, her deep understanding of the company's operations shining through. She watched with satisfaction as the inspectors nodded approvingly, jotting notes on their clipboards. As the final meeting concluded, the lead inspector stood to address the room. "I want to thank you all for your hospitality and transparency throughout this process," he began. "It's clear that you run a tight ship here. Your innovative approach to corporate culture is particularly impressive." Elsie held her breath, sensing a but coming. Instead, the inspector smiled. "We're pleased to report that your company has passed the inspection with flying colors. In fact, we'll be recommending you for an award in corporate excellence." The room erupted in cheers and applause. Elsie felt tears of joy and relief welling up in her eyes. Miss Victoria embraced her, whispering, "We couldn't have done this without you, Miss Elsie." In the days that followed, the office was abuzz with excitement. News of their successful inspection and upcoming award spread quickly. Elsie found herself at the center of the celebrations, receiving congratulations and praise from all corners. Miss Victoria called Elsie into her office a week after the inspection. "Miss Elsie, your performance during the inspection was nothing short of extraordinary," she said. "The board and I have been discussing your future with the company, and we'd like to offer you a significant promotion." Elsie's eyes widened. "Thank you, Miss Victoria. I'm honored." We are opening a new branch in the United States, Miss Victoria continued, and we'd like you to head it up. You'd be responsible for implementing our unique corporate culture in a new market. It's a big challenge, but we believe you're the perfect person for the job. Elsie sat in stunned silence for a moment, processing the offer. Return to the States, as the woman she'd become? The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. I don't know what to say, Elsie finally managed. Miss Victoria smiled kindly. You don't have to decide right away. Take some time to think it over. This would be a big change, and we want you to be sure it's the right move for you. Over the next few days, Elsie grappled with the decision. She loved her life in Uzbekistan, the friends she'd made, the confidence she'd gained. But the opportunity to bring that sense of empowerment and success back to her home country was tempting. After much soul-searching, Elsie realized that she was ready for this new challenge. She'd come so far from the desperate, unemployed person she'd been 2 years ago. Now she had the chance to help others find the same sense of purpose and belonging she'd discovered. Elsie knocked on Miss Victoria's door, her decision made. Miss Victoria, I'd like to accept the promotion. Miss Victoria beamed. I'm so glad to hear that, Miss Elsie. I know you'll do amazing things in the States. The next few months were a flurry of preparations. Elsie worked closely with Miss Victoria and the board to develop strategies for introducing their unique corporate culture to an American market. She interviewed potential staff, oversaw the selection of an office location, and brushed up on current U.S. business practices. As her departure date approached, Elsie's colleagues threw her a lavish going-away party. Amid the toasts and well-wishes, Elsie felt a bittersweet pang. She would miss this place and these people who had become like family. But she was also excited about the new chapter ahead. The night before her flight, Elsie stood on the balcony of her apartment, gazing out at the Tashkent skyline. She thought about the incredible journey she'd been on, from unemployed and hopeless to successful and confident. As Miss Elsie, she'd discovered strength she never knew she possessed. The next morning, Elsie boarded her flight to New York, where the company's new U.S. headquarters would be located. As the plane took off, she watched Uzbekistan recede below her. But unlike the uncertainty she'd felt on her first flight 2 years ago, now Elsie was filled with excitement and purpose. Arriving in New York, Elsie stepped off the plane with her head held high. She navigated the airport with ease, her confident stride a far cry from the nervous shuffling of her past self. As she emerged into the bustling arrivals area, she spotted a group of people holding a welcome sign with her name, Miss Elsie, written in large, friendly letters. Elsie approached the group with a warm smile. "Hello, everyone," she said, her voice clear and assured. "I'm Miss Elsie. It's wonderful to meet you all." The group, composed of key personnel she'd hired for the new branch, greeted her enthusiastically. As they made their way to the waiting cars, Elsie answered questions about the company and shared her vision for their future in the U.S. market. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Elsie oversaw the final preparations of their office space, conducted training sessions, and met with potential clients. She worked tirelessly to ensure that the unique corporate culture that had been so successful in Uzbekistan was properly adapted for an American context. One particular challenge was introducing the company's naming convention and dress code. Elsie approached this delicately, emphasizing the empowering aspects of the policy and its role in fostering a unique, inclusive work environment. Our use of feminine names and attire isn't about erasing individual identity, she explained during a staff meeting. It's about creating a space where we can transcend traditional gender roles and focus on our skills and contributions. To her relief, most of the new employees embraced the concept with curiosity and enthusiasm. There were, of course, some who struggled with the adjustment, but Elsie worked patiently with each person, drawing from her own experience to help them navigate the transition. As word spread about the innovative new company in town, Elsie found herself fielding interviews with business journals and local news outlets. She spoke passionately about their mission, and the positive impact their approach could have on workplace dynamics. "We're not just selling products or services," she told one reporter. "We're promoting a new way of thinking about work and identity. It's about creating an environment where everyone can thrive, regardless of their background or gender." The publicity brought both positive attention and scrutiny. Some praised the company for its bold approach to workplace equality, while others criticized it as gimmicky or even discriminatory. Elsie faced each challenge head-on, her unwavering belief in the company's mission shining through in every interview and public appearance. Despite the occasional controversy, the new branch flourished under Elsie's leadership. Her innovative strategies and the company's unique culture attracted top talent and high-profile clients. Within 6 months, they had exceeded their initial projections and were already discussing expansion plans. On a personal level, Elsie found that returning to the States as her new self was both easier and more challenging than she'd anticipated. She reveled in her success and the respect she commanded in her professional life. However, she also grappled with questions of how to navigate her personal life and old relationships. Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.